Daddy Mac. Dan's 30 years got our way, trading life and markets every day. Rusty's chained to the mines, digging deep day by day. But when Option Omega releases new features, he's free to come out and play option. Omega, you're trading home, where every move makes you feel less alone.
One day I'm going to fix that to where it just doesn't stop, but not today. not today. It just randomly stops again. I love it. Morning, everybody. I hope you guys are doing well today. Dan, you doing okay?
Doing good. Little warmer. It looks like by you, it looks a little, you don't have the Chicago Bears hat on today. It looks a little warmer.
It's like 55, 60. It's not bad. Now I'm a cold old brittle man.
I am too. I get cold. My wife's kind of concerned like you're going to break, but it's, in the South, 55 degrees is, coming from Chicago, 55 is like, it's like Daytona Beach.
That's right. It's Key West.
It's Key West. It's Key West.
Well, yeah, Dan, market is moving up. That's the thing we can say about the market is it's moving up. Overnight's not doing anything, but it broke out of that initial range. It had been in a range for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And, so we see what happens with the market. But,
yeah.
You have any thoughts about where it's going and what it's doing and all that?
Absolutely not. As far as where you don't want to ask me.
4,300.
Yeah, true. Yeah. But, if you look at, I just think for the rest of the week, looking at, okay, you had the last 3 days of the week, Wednesday, today, Thursday, and Friday, are going to be more you're a little heavier with some news, right? With the culmination Friday, the unemployment or the claim, what's it called? Non-farm payroll, which is Friday. But they're saying it could be more significant because it hasn't come out in a while, right? Because all this government shutdown. Today, they came out with the, what was it today? The ADP, I wrote it down here, the payrolls, and they came in, the last 3 months, I think that there weren't enough jobs, and here there was a little more jobs or whatever. It doesn't look like the market's reacting much to that. But I think with this, okay, you've got this in front of you. You have this kind of going up. I wouldn't say it Mach speed. You agree? We're going up, call it a grind, call it whatever you want. And you have this, a credit spread nightmare, right? You have a low VIX. So what do you do? Or what are you thinking? What trades would be compatible? To me, the first thing, and this is just a little bit of contrarian when we're at these levels. Hey, I don't want to be that delta short, right? But I'd like to have more room on the downside, right? And we could maybe model a couple trades I wrote with you if you wanted to, but that I was looking at. But I think that's kind of the idea. Not that you want to go hog wild, long, vague. I think a diversification helps, which could be a lead in a minute to. I watched Troy's inaugural. Is that what the word? Inaugural show yesterday, which was great. There was just a ton of meat. He went over was it 7 strategies? But
seven strategies, yeah.
But there was a mix. And not only did Troy throw in stock and Apple, which is good. In a liquid vehicle, you like to play stocks. But the other thing that was good, he threw in, and it was a gut check for him. We'll have to get. He did a credit spread.
We'll talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. But what I like is it's the parameters. It's not that, you say, oh boy, I'd have a tough time doing a put credit spread, low vol, market up. But I think, what do? I think as long as you have some parameters, you decide, with the back testing, and so you decide when you put it on, and try to talk about that a little bit with the SMA and different. You say, hey, I want it. I'm only going to do it in these situations, because it is, you would think if I'm going to do a put credit spread, you'd want a down day. We haven't been getting a lot of down days, so, but I think even more than as much as the down day, right? You get a little more premium on the downside for credit spread. They have your parameters that we still want to be in a bit of an uptrend, whether you look at the SMA or whatever. So I think it's going to be, I don't think it'll be bad for for people doing, because the vols, I think on the lower end right now that we're starting, I thought like last week, the week before, could we have hit 12? Yeah. I think it's, again, who knows? But what I'm thinking is, you got all these earnings start. You got the earnings. Everybody's back from vacation. I don't see us going that much under 15, unless it's just, what's that song? Up and Away.
Yeah.
In the 60s.
Yeah.
But I think it's more. I think you just have to have more room to the downside. This is where I'm thinking some kind of hedges to the downside. And again, just for perspective, right? Because we can get crazy. The market's going here and it's going there. Always start with a little bit of reality, right? In other words, if you look at I'm just looking at the SPX expected move to Friday, which is only 2 days, it's like 57 points. Let's round it to 60. So if you say, well, the market, I think by Friday could go down 200 points. Well, it could go down 200, sure. Probably not going to do it statistically by Friday, right? But, you got a 60-point range. And so to me, what I like about like maybe a Rick or something with maybe a Friday expiration is the fact that you need less than the expected move for it to move. But again, with a Rick, unless you're doing, if you're doing it over a year, versus situational, right? A year would be, hey, I back test it like Matt has done, maybe lean a little bit long because the market's going up, and he's shown tests that are really good. But I'm talking more like, what would you call it? Like an arbitrary, an event driven, right?
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah, discretionary
coming up. Yeah. Maybe plant one for Friday. You're buying a 30, 32 delta, whatever. You're going 10, 20 wide. But what I like is it's really, here's the question to ask. Do you think, and here's the great thing, it's not, we're saying, okay, right now, SPX closed around 69.44. Let's say 69.40 for math purposes. You're basically saying, do you think between now and the end of the day, Friday, at some point, right? We're not saying staying there. Do you think we'll get a 50, 60 point move up or down from here? Not staying there, right? But just, can we move 50 or 60? And if the answer is yes, that's the type of trade, but I think there's at least catalyst this week where it can happen, right? But I think,
yeah,
I like, just for one last thing, Troy, sorry to
no, please.
Not too much. I had a little more Panera than
I could listen. This is what I
maybe normal, but like the double calendars, I look at it like that. You could say, some people could say, well, vol's low, that's not helping me. But on the other hand, I look at it and say, how much am I really that concerned? Now, again, doing 0 or what, 2-day double calendars is a little bit different than a 9-day, right? So, but with all being said, I'm not that concerned overall about the volatility of my long, right? At this point, right? I'm willing to, I think it's fine, right? It doesn't mean right now is the best opportunity that, you'd rather have vols up and doing all that. But I look at the other side of the coin and say, what's my risk, right? I mean, there could be some, and again, you have risk parameters, but I don't mind any type of mixed month spread with these volatility levels in lieu of what's coming up with the earnings. I just think, I don't see 12 right now, right? And you could, you say, okay, what could get us to a 12 VIX? Continue this grind up another 200 points in the SPX.
Yeah, and I think it would have to be a grind. I don't think if we're going to get into a situation where and the market does this sometimes, where it's like 50 points a clip or 75 points we wait a day, 50 points a clip. VIX ain't going to come, that's the type of move that'll crush VIX from 20 to 17, but 13, 14 VIX isn't going to 12 on that move.
No, it'll stay steady.
Yeah, 14, 12 VIX, 14 to 12 VIX is like 4 points a day for 2 months.
Yeah, a torture.
It's a torture. And 2017 was that. And that's why we always tell people, it's like SEAL teams. You want to be prepared and training, for all sorts of combat situations that you don't know about. And one of the things that you can train yourself on is 2017, because it's a completely different data set. It's brutal. It's a different type of war. It's urban warfare, hand to hand. You're not getting a bomb,
I don't mean to get in any kind of controversy at this point. I'd like to give a little shout out. The Delta Force has kind of done pretty well lately, right?
Delta Force has done well lately.
So the SEALs are like the glamour guys. They seem to get more PR, but it's just like, I don't know if I like Delta Force more because the word Delta, it brings in a little bit of the Greek or something like
absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
But it is amazing what those guys, I picture a Delta Force guy, honestly, looking like your new employee, besides you, Peter, the new employee from yesterday. He's just
Brian.
Yeah.
I would love to start calling him, though, the new employee. I'd prefer that, actually. Just say, Brian, listen, I know we've been friends for years, but for the next couple months, you mind if I'm going to go ahead and refer to you as the new employee. And I think that's better. No, that's the thing. I think Brian looks like a SEAL. I think my goal is to look like Delta. It's like your dad. Picture your dad. You're like, I didn't know you went to Nicaragua. That's the type of thing. Like, that's what I want. Yeah, I heard a funny thing the night that it happened. It said, of course, it was Delta Force, because if it was SEALs, A, it wouldn't have worked. B, there'd be 5 Mark Wahlberg movies about it and 25 books written about it.
Yeah,
and that's pretty funny to me.
Isn't it more like the Deltas? Are they more involved when there's water around? Obviously they're
SEALs or water.
SEALs
or water. But I think I think it's all interchangeable. I've listened to enough of this stuff because I'm a nerd of history, and so I'm interested in this. But like, SEALs do water, but they all train together. They do some training stuff together, and they'll work together depending on the situation. But they, like stereotypically, SEALs are water. Anywhere near the water, you're going to deal with that. And then, there's other special teams. So there's Delta. The Marines have one that I always mispronounce.
Recon?
It's something like that. I always call it Marcon, which is the French president. But now I'm going to do it. We got the time this morning.
Right. Hypothetical. You're 18 years old. Troy McNeil.
MARSOC.
Oh, you would? Oh, MARSOC. Okay.
MARSOC is the Marine Special Forces.
Oh, yeah. So what would you're 18 years old today. What are you joining Special Op? Which one are you
going? So I'll give you guys a little bit of history with this. Is that I am a pastor. I don't talk about that a lot on the show. So very different path than the military. But my mom was in the military, and
she was. Okay.
Yeah, she was in the Air Force, and I was a young man at 9/11. So I was 17, 18. No, I was 18 on 9/11, and so like any 18-year-old man in America on September 11th, I was all in. like
Yeah.
that day, me and my buddies were on the phone being like, "What branch you going to?" Like
Are you
it was
serious?
oh yeah, it was that level of like patriotism.
Let's go. Yeah, let's go.
And I had a wise older man in my life who I told him I was thinking about going to Air Force, and he said to me, "You are physically limited, and I know you want to overcome that to serve your country, but there's other ways you can serve your country." And I took that and I ran with it. So one of the things too, I mean, this is, who cares? It's a personal story, but like,
Yeah.
I have a small family, so like I don't have cousins. I don't have,
Yeah.
my sister and I were the kids.
Yeah.
So it would have been pretty devastating to my family
Right.
for the one boy to just go.
Oh,
And,
sure. Yeah. It's
but I don't want to make any excuses. I want to explain. The number one excuse was that I was weak and weak-minded. So
if you were stronger, would it be SEAL? Would it be Delta?
Oh, I really think Air Force. I mean, to me, I don't think I would ever have what it takes to be the SEALs, because or any special force team. Because here's the thing, I have a buddy who's remained nameless, but one of my best friends was, I believe, on the teams, at one of the teams in one of the branches, and he would tell me what he could. When he was on leave, he would tell me what he could. We'd go for walks and stuff, and like, Dan, they torture you. I mean, in the training, they do it to train you, but let's not make any mistakes. They torture you, and you just you can't quit. That's the thing. How do you win in that? How do you become that? You don't quit. And I mean, Dan, I can't even stomach like 4 Iron Condor losses. I know. You think you're going to waterboard me, and I'm not going to give in? I'll tell you anything you want about America.
Yeah, it's incredible. I talked to somebody I know who lives in Coronado, is that San Diego, and I forget which one's there, but there's special ops, I think,
that's the SEALs.
Oh, it is? Okay. And he said he lives right there. I mean, right where they're at, near the water. And he said he'll see them sometimes running through, and they're just berating these guys. And they're just, and he'll watch them on the beach. You can see late at night or whenever, the workouts and what these guys do. He said it's just mind-boggling how. And
you always hear. Yeah, you always hear these stories about buds. That's called buds.
Yeah.
When they go to SEAL training, you always hear these stories. It's like, and people like me, you talk to these SEAL guys, and you're like, how hard was buds? Like, what was buds like?
Yeah.
And you talk to a SEAL guy, and the SEAL guys are like, I can't communicate enough that the hardest day in buds was the easiest day in Iraq. Like, explaining, like, basically, like, you didn't go through buds, so you don't know anything about it. You think buds is this crazy challenge. Buds is nothing compared to actually being a Navy SEAL. Like, and so you get into that mindset. You're like, geez Louise, like, it's crazy. So
yeah, you just, I mean, it almost seems more mental. Like, what can you?
I think it is. I think it's all. I mean, that's why I think. I mean, there's a guy named Jocko Willink. He was a SEAL. He started a company called Echelon Front, which is leadership development. Now, I'm a little anarchist. I don't care about, like, growing up, I'd have been like, I don't need a SEAL to freaking tell me how to. And it is funny to me how you get these Navy SEALs that like do leadership development, and it's like you can go on a retreat and ask them questions, and like, it is a funny thing to be like, hey, Mr. Navy SEALs guys, heroes of Iraq War, like, I've got this employee that's troublesome at work. How do I deal with it? Like, that juxtaposition is so funny to me, of like, asking these guys, like, because what do they, I mean, obviously they're going to give you some good leadership stuff, but it's all going to be based on, like, I totally get that. It's like when I was in Ramadi and one of the guys blew his legs off, and you're like, I don't think it's actually like that at all. Wow. I don't think it's like that at all.
Yeah. So, well, it's funny. It's. Did you ever hear of Alex Honnold? Is it H-O? So he's a free, what do they call it, where you climb up mountains without any protection.
Freebase, or is that cocaine?
That's cocaine.
One of them. Yeah.
But this is free solo, and he's pretty well known. He's done some documentaries where he's climbed some of the tallest structures with nothing. I mean, he's, and that's the thing you're watching. If there's no accidents here, if you fall. But I was just yesterday or the day before, I don't know if it was for Robin Hood or one of these things, because you brought up leadership. He's up on a mountain and he's talking about comparing climbing versus when you're trading. It was for trading. And he's just like, you got to be prepared. And it shows him doing, push-ups with one finger or whatever. You got to have a goal. You got to have a goal. And it was like, I was getting fired up. I'm like, well, wait a second. This is trading, but, they just kind of carry the template, right?
And it is funny, but it sounds ridiculous to say, but like, it kind of does translate. There's that balancing act.
It absolutely does translate. When I was in the trading pit, I was in the, don't tell Tom. I was don't tell Tom. But there was, and I've said this before, it's, you didn't have to be, there were some very smart people, Harvard graduates or whatever, but there were also many like myself, Yokos or whatever you want. I mean, that were goofballs, barely high school graduates, there was no, like, you had to have, 4 of your 5 marbles working. No, you just had to go down there. But the thing is, I said this before, if you said after trading hours, was there some very dysfunctional, addictive personalities doing a lot of things they shouldn't be doing? Tons of it, right? But those same people, bring up the Ernest Hemingway thing. Those same people during this 7-8 hours, you'd be like, whoa, they're keeping it together. They look like they're falling apart, but they're keeping it together. I mean, because it's like they've done it so much, right? They know that discipline, from 3 in the afternoon till midnight, no discipline. But between 9 and 3, total discipline. And I just think I don't know how you'd explain that, but
it's a good, Tom raises a good question. And he says, nobody would have messed with a SEAL in the pits. Now, the thing I act like I know, I don't know anything, but special forces is, there's a mix of psychological stuff going on in their warfare. And so, Dan, here's my question to you. I suppose I'm a big guy. I've got a frame for it, but I'm not strong. You get a football player who's like in the pits, 1985 or whatever. And they say, hey, there's a lot of them. So, and they say, hey, dweeb, out of the way. Okay, so that's scenario 1. Yeah. Or you get a guy who maybe doesn't look crazy strong, but he clearly is fit. Then he comes up behind you and he says, I will murder you.
Oh, no.
Which one of those is?
That's a great point. And you bring up an excellent point. I mean, and what you're saying and what Tom brought up is 100% what happened, especially in the bigger pits where there were like 300 guys in a pit. I mean, there were women, but mostly guys. It was more like your soybeans and wheat at the Chicago Board of Trade. They had pits of 300, 200. Crazy. So it was literally, if you see some of those old movies, guys like this for 6 hours. And so being big, but here's the reality. When it came to money for a lot of people in there were guys that were 140 pounds that looked as wimpy, and they were, right? But were nuts, right? Or they're insane. That's right. They were looking at, hey, I got 3 kids at home, or I don't have kids at home, but this is money. I don't care.
Yeah.
But they looked at it like, and so they would say, they would attack verbally, but the whole thing was this. They were looking under the fact that there was very steep prices for fighting, right? So, you think, if it was like, okay, you're outside with a football player, like I worked with John and Pete Nigerian. So we'd have probably 60% of the employees played Division I football. So they were big, they were strong, and they could just, especially Pete. Pete played for Tampa Bay Buccaneers for a while. John played pro football a little bit for the Bears. I mean, these were big guys, right? And they were in shape and they could take you out, right? But here's the thing. You say, why would people stand up to him in the pit? Well, if Pete struck somebody, right, he'd probably get it more because of, they're saying, hey, you shouldn't be fighting anybody, right? But he was a gentle guy. I mean, he was, but the price was, and this is way back, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000.
Wow.
You could get suspended. So it wasn't like hockey.
Yeah.
You get a big guy, you could fight all the time and no consequences. Here, if you fought, now you're marked. So you really couldn't do it. But now some of the guys were smart. Some of the football, they'd say, okay, you're going to talk big here. I'll wait for, crazy one, I will wait for you by your car. And that's when the guy that's when it would be like, I'm sorry. Hey, I lost it with you, because that's what it's the crazy guy, right? Pete was not crazy. He was a very,
If I was going to do it, I think what I'd do is I'd memorize everybody's families in my vicinity, kids, addresses, things like that. And I would just say things like, I'd come up behind you and I'd say, how's Barb doing? And I just,
see,
and then if they want to hit me, I don't want to force them outside. You have to be mental about this. You have to say, like, I've got to enrage them enough to where they swing right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Where I get their spot. We can't wait.
No. And it's the Jack. Those are the personalities, the Jack Nicholson and the Shining or something.
That's right.
But here was the one thing, and you would get this occasionally, and you'd hear this. So outside of the CBOE in the courtyard, it's still there. Big statue and a waterfall. But it's a statue. I don't know who, I should know by now, but it's a statue, I think, of a guy on a horse, right? So it would be, if someone would really tick you off in the pit, whether you were big, you'd say, to the horse, right? And there were a couple I remember when it was slow, it was around noon, a guy would challenge the guy, say, to the horse. And there'd be 30 people taking the elevator down to the horse, right? And go outside, and they were going to do the Dukes, right?
I love being a guy. I love being a guy.
Well,
it's awesome.
And that's where I think a lot of ladies didn't want to hang there all day, because there was a lot of, you get all these guys together, a lot of, and it's a lot of immaturity. It's like hanging out at the schoolyard. I mean, I loved it. Yeah. I thrived on the immaturity part.
Yeah, me too.
But it was
me and Rusty were in an office, and Brian, we talked about it yesterday. Brian would come up, but some of the stuff, we had our own kind of office that was like a door, but it was open space, but like we had a door, so people kind of hear what we're saying. And you get these people come in and be like, you guys are morons. This is ridiculous what you're talking about. And, it is what it is. But Dan, I should probably talk a little bit about the small account challenge.
Yes, absolutely.
So I want to address a couple things. First off, if you haven't watched small account challenge video, I said I was going to delete it last night. I want to be a man of my word. This freaking guy from Dublin messaged me and says, hey, I'm in Dublin. It's really late. I want to watch it. Shout out Dublin. I mean, I'm not going to argue against the Irish.
No.
It will go down later today. I can't keep it up forever because we are doing stuff with it. And one of the things, this actually kind of proved the point a little bit. When you're trading options and you're trying to communicate stuff, I mean, Dan, I'm not preaching to the choir on this. There's always an underestimation of where you think people are. And so I got a lot of responses last night, a lot of stuff in the chat with some questions that just I hadn't thought to address. I tried to address them in the portfolio, but I didn't try to address them as much. So I want to address them for a second. Pat, let's talk about pattern day trader for a couple minutes. Okay. So the pattern day trader rule is, I'm going to look it up just so I can be real specific. If you execute 4 or more day trades within 5 business days. So I think I said yesterday, basically over 3 trades in a 7-day period. That's because the business days. That's correct, I think. And so the portfolio we've done, I wanted to communicate yesterday, and I was trying my best to be Army man a little bit and talk authoritatively, but there's no look. It's called tail risk for a reason. Tail risks are things that you don't expect to happen that happens. So, given enough trades, sequence of events, there might be a situation where you put on a 923 SPY calendar and a 1-2 and a Stalingrad, a DC, 1428. And that moment, the market has a news event and it drops 300 points, right? And you will have 3-day trades at that point if it closes out. So I don't want to say, hey, you're not ever going to deal with that. I do want to communicate that we have thought about that ahead of time, and we've tried to construct trades that you're not going to get PDT. You're not a big risk. It's a risk that we're willing to take to say you're not going to get PDT. You could get PDT, but we are trying to shout out K Smith. He's in the chat. I'm the guy from Dublin. Hey, shout out Dublin. Listen, an Irishman makes a request. You know, I think Dan can, as a little Irishman himself, for the love of the game, we got to do it.
Absolutely.
So, we will take it down later today. Dan, I can't guarantee that it's not going to get PDT, but what I can try to do is construct a portfolio that's most likely not going to get PDT.
Yeah.
And that's what we did.
Yeah. I mean, I watched the show, and as I was getting a little exercise, I was walking and listening to Troy at the same time. And I thought, wow, this is a challenge. It's a great opportunity for people who, hey, I want to learn the craft and see it in motion and participate in it for $5,000. I think that's raising the bar a bit, because for people who've never traded, $5,000 isn't a lot, right? And the other thing is you're dealing with the challenges, and Troy's done a great job. I know Romeo helped, and you mentioned in the video yesterday's the famous Stevie V. Is that the right
Stephen V? Stephen V, yep.
But I think the challenges are the PDD. But the other thing is you're at $5,000. Think about, without some guidance here, with Troy kind of doing a lot of the legwork to get it going. If you're at 5,000, if you're assuming we're just going north, right? What if you go south, right? We say Troy brought up sequence risk. In your mind, you're thinking sequence risk will probably come when I'm up 15,000, right? Why? Why can't it come at the beginning?
It can go straight at the beginning. I know.
So you can go from 5 to 3.
That's right.
So now you're at $3,000. Now the pressure's on, right? Not only maybe you can't do as much as you want to do. But I think it's a wonderful challenge, because it's teaching you risk management. You want to be tight, right? You don't want to, this isn't loose. And I like, if you're a new person, I would jump in with Troy for 5,000, do it, because it's well thought through. But you're learning a lot of, especially maybe Troy, you could real quick bring up like the variety of strategies. You're going to learn different strategies. There's different durations. You're dealing with stocks. So it's a nice education. But like, if we focus on that put credit spread that you did 5 wide, you can play a $6,000 vehicle like SPX for $400 and some dollars. You're doing a 5 wide put credit spread. But what makes it special is, if you want to, I don't know if you have time to just for a couple minutes on what makes it special is Troy's basically trying to find, we're at all-time highs, low volatility to start this. You couldn't find a worse opportunity. I mean, at least from my point of view.
Yeah.
But he's saying, hey, we're going to focus in on, what was it, SMA or some of the
SMA and EMA. It's a combination, and that's a Rob and Maria trade. So shout out Rob and Maria.
Oh, see, it's it's precise. They did, shout out to Rob and a great job on that, because it's keeping it simple, right? It's say, hey, I'm doing a put credit spread. My problem is if this thing goes down a lot, so I'm just going to enter. It's like I'm only going to the bad neighborhood at 11 in the morning with the Navy SEAL next to me, right? And it's Rob and Marie are doing the best to keep you in that, right? The only scary thing with that type of a strategy, but it's just understanding, is, hey, Rob and Marie, they get you in, right? You get you in normally at 11 in the morning in a bad neighborhood is good. You got the SEAL with you, but there can be an event, right? And it can go from, look, I entered the trade when the EMA, all the bells and whistles were the right way, but 1 day later or 3 hours later, things turned dark, right? And now we're through the EMAs on the downside. What do you do? And this is I think you got to set up as what do you call it? Leave it alone. What's the words?
Ride or die.
Ride or die. So in that instance, excuse me, that's where it could get, but that's understanding, knowing that here's what can go wrong. Like, and you called it sequence risk, right?
Mm-hmm. That's the one that's I said it yesterday. That's the one that's gonna mess with you emotionally.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna see it a lot more. It's gonna open a lot more trades than the other ones, and you could lose 1,500 before you win. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. And so, why did we put it in there? The way we wanted to construct this was, it's not just for variety. I don't care about variety. I mean, I trade mostly DCs, but
yeah,
I did want a little bit of variety in the sense that I think I look at last year and I ran a lot of DCs in my own port, had a good year. The times that I had a drawdown, there are credit selling strategies that would have helped that drawdown. And I have to mentally tell myself, like, you're missing out, and it's totally because of your mentality. Well, that's something I can adjust. And so we're doing it. And I think it'll be helpful. We have rules in place to take it out. I do want to say one more thing about PDT, though, because we're going to get this question a lot. I don't ever want to be despairing of a brokerage. And so, we work with a bunch of different brokerages, and brokerages have weaknesses and strengths. But I do want to say this. We would love to work with IBKR in our automation. There are a lot of people in the community that would love to work with IBKR in our automation. We would love for that to happen. IBKR, and I've heard some of their upper guys, their big guys at conferences say basically that's not their focus. Their focus is not, they are focused on what they call pro-tail, not retail. Well, I take them at their word at that, and no harm, no foul. I think IBKR is a great brokerage for a lot of different things. But I will say this. I have heard people talk, and I've actually encountered this. I tried IBKR a couple of years ago just to test some stuff to see what the brokerage looked like. They will consider, you open up a double calendar and you close it. They will consider all 4 of those legs a separate trade. Now, I just want to say this. That's insane. And IBKR is not focused on retail at all if they're going to consider day trades each leg of a spread. You put the spread on together, you take it off, they consider taking the spread off as a whole, taking off each leg, and they consider that a day trade. That is not going to work for retail. Like, again, I'm not trying to disparage them, but I really want to encourage you to not try to do a $5,000 account in IBKR. I would love IBKR to do that one day. I would love IBKR to become more retail focused. It would be great for the business. It'd be great for IBKR. It'd be great for our European friends. Until they do that, I believe them at their word when they say we're pro-tail focused, not retail focused. So I don't want to lie. I don't want to lie and say like, oh, it could work. They're not focused on it. They're not focused on you as a $5,000 account retail trader. So I wouldn't play that game because it's not going to work. And the portfolio is not meant to work with IBKR. That's the theory of it.
Yeah. I mean, the one hand, I've been doing webinars with IBKR for years, and that's a retail focus. And I know there's other retail. So on one hand, there, and I know some of the people over there and excellent, especially in the educational end of it and doing retail. You know, my suggestion, and I don't mean to be like a grassroots political thing, but I think, you know, when you notice in the area of margins, that changes from, you know, based on the compliance department. I mean, you would look at like even Tasty's changed a bit, right? With the DCs, right? Is that right, Troy? With some of the margins. Yep. I think part of it is if you're with IB, I think sometimes, you know, it wouldn't hurt sometime, put a call in. See if you can, you know, I think it helps say, hey, I'm a retail trader. I want to be here. A lot of very positive things that Interactive Brokers, I like personally. I mean, many. I mean, they were the first.
100%.
When you look at the first person in retail, I mean, it's them, right? They do a lot of very positive stuff. Give them a call. Talk to, see if you can get the right person. You know, it's like call your congressman, because you want IB has a good reach, especially like, wouldn't you say, Troy, a lot of the Canadians and the people outside the US. And, you know, IB has always offered, I think, for people out of the US, especially to come in. I mean, some of the rates that people were paying on non-interactive broker accounts that we're doing with people outside the US was like crazy. And IB always kept it very competitive. So I think it's, you know, give them a call. I mean, some of it is call them up, because those things you can change, compliance. But that you bring up a great point, Troy, and I know we're running out of time here, but I think it's important to realize, especially with mixed month trades, make sure your margins, you know, to me, should be like Schwab. You know, when you're doing a double calendar or you're doing a single calendar, a mixed month trade, your margin requirement should not be more than your debit. If it is, Houston, we got a problem, right? And some brokerage firms are charging you more, a little wacky. And I think at least if you like the brokerage firm, call them up, because obviously, wouldn't you say, Troy, with Tasty, they had a bad experience, right? And so they were adjusting to that. But there's got to be other solutions. I still would love to get someone who knows more about all this stuff, Scott Sheridan, back on one of these shows, just to address those things, because he's much more knowledgeable. He's dealt in the mix of it for years. But anyways.
No, I think that's right. And I think, I mean, ultimately, I mean, PDT needs to go away. It's a stupid rule. It's a really stupid rule that actually increases risks. Absolutely. That's the crazy thing. So anyway, well, one more thing. That was just the beginning. We're like, well, don't take the video down, because we're going to present this in a way that, like, the reason we're taking the video down is we actually want to make it simpler to understand and break it down to where each video explains exactly what the strategy is, exactly how to automate it, exactly how to backtest it if you want to do your own backtest, exactly how to model it. So it's not we're trying to obfuscate it. We're actually trying to do more with the content. But in order to do that, we don't want it to be confusing. And it just kind of proved itself. Went through the video last night and had a lot of people asking some questions that need to be addressed, but they need to be addressed in particular ways. So anyway, I'm excited about it. It's live. I don't know if anything's going to open today, but we will report if we do. So Dan, have a great rest of your day. Guys.